So hello, my name is Wojciech Kargul. I'm from Poland, from Europe. I'm senior software developer in Fathom.io and the president of Rust Poland community, Rust community. So yeah, today I want to tell you about the night I would really like to forget and yeah, what it taught us actually, right? This talk is called Zero Copy Chaos. It's about the moment when everything we thought we knew about Tokio stopped being true about Tokio performance actually. I won't tell you how smart we are. I will tell you how wrong we were and in what order and what finally worked. So, about 4 a.m., my phone goes off. P99 latency, 450 milliseconds. It happened in 4 minutes. We were dropping 30% of requests. It wasn't rate limiting. We were dropping. The system was collapsing under its own load. I opened the flame graph. I looked at it carefully and I saw, yeah, nothing obviously was wrong. That was the worst part. When the flame graph looks fine and production is on fire, that's when you know you're missing something, right? Yeah, and we are going to talk about it today. So here's the scale. We are running at 10 million requests per second, steady for about 8 months. Then in 4 minutes, traffic spiked to 45 million, 4.5 times normal load. P99 went from 18 milliseconds to 450. We dropped, as mentioned, 30% requests, and it took actually 72 hours without sleep to fix it. The end result, that was fantastic, was 8 milliseconds P99 at 4.5 our original traffic. So yeah, better than we started, and I will show you how. Before I tell you what worked, let me be honest about what didn't. And these are exactly the things you try. I know, because I tried them. So first, instinct. The system is overwhelmed, so yeah, let's add threads. We went from 8 to 32 workers. Unfortunately, P99 got worse. More threads meant more context switching, more cache thrashing, more coordination overhead. Yeah, than actually work. Second instinct, that channels are full, right? So let's increase the buffers. It masked the problem for a few minutes. Then we ran out of memory. So a higher cliff is not a fix. Third instinct, we're cloning data. So we are using reference counting. It's just a pointer copy, we said. Wrong. Clone pressure on the allocator was killing us, but it didn't show clearly in the flame graphs. Thousands of tiny allocations, invisible in aggregate, yeah, and devastating in practice. So I set flame graphs light, but that's not quite fair. They show what the CPU is doing. But the problem is what they don't capture. So jmalloc under threat pressure is nearly invisible in perf. Lock contention happens at a level perf doesn't easily sample. Heap track made it obvious, yeah, in seconds. Tokio console showed tasks waking each other in cascades. So it's classic standering herd. inside the async runtime. Perfstat with cache misses revealed our hot struct that was causing false sharing. Fields written by different threads sat on the same 64-byte cache line. Every write invalidated every course L1. One struct reordered and fixed it. Some tasks were burning their entire pool on every iteration, starving their neighbors. The fix was explicit yield now at the right points, and that was actually it. So here you can see as well the list of tools that actually helped. So it was Tokio console, heap track, perf with cache misses, cargo flamegraph, dhat, criterion with some tracing. Yeah, so here's the reframe that changed everything. Zero copy isn't about being clever. It's about asking one question. Why does this data exist twice? I think it's a classic question. So yeah, our hot path before. Socket read into vec. So that's the allocation number 1. Clone into an arc, allocation 2. Parse into string, allocation 3. Serialize the response, allocation 4. So 4 allocations per request. At 45 million requests per second, that's 180 million allocations per second. It's a lot. After, socket read into a pooled bytes buffer. 0 allocation from pool. Byte slice to view subranges, 0 allocation, just a fat pointer. Parse over byte slice, 0 allocation. Response via IOVEC, scatter-gutter, 0 copy to the kernel. Yeah, same logic, same data, but 0 copies. So let me show the actual code. The before version looked totally fine, right? We allocate a byte buffer, read into it, clone it for ownership, then parse, which allocates internally, and send. I believe it's clean, readable, idiomatic Rust. Yeah, and completely wrong for this workload. The after version, it's poll get that returns a bytes mute from a pre-allocated ring buffer, which means no allocations. We read directly into it. Freeze converts it into bytes. That's arc of byte slice with slice semantics. No copy. Parse 0 copy, borrows the slice. Send response IOVEC uses scatter-gutter writes. So the key insight is bytes lets you have 50 different views into the same buffer with 0 copies. Cloning is just a pointer bump and an atomic counter. That's the primitive we were missing. So yeah, we used unsafe. I want to be upfront about it, so because I know that Rust community can be cagey about unsafe. We used it deliberately with constraints. So one rule, every unsafe block requires a benchmark proving it's faster. No benchmark, no unsafe. That's non-negotiable. The pool index is always less than capacity. This is enforced by construction and an atomic CAS. Safety invariant is real. And yeah, with this, gain was 11% faster pool checkout. Single-threaded per task access, no live borrows across await points. So we trade a ref cell runtime check for a compile time guarantee that we maintain manually. The IOVEC lifetime is tied to the bytes buffer. We keep bytes alive in a wrapper struct, so the row pointer is always valid. This gave us zero copy write. The kernel reads directly from the buffer. So yeah, let's use unsafe as long as you document your invariants and attach your benchmarks. Yeah, then unsafe is a tool, not a liability. So yeah, Tokio defaults are good. I want to say it clearly. They are optimized for the average workload, but ours wasn't average. We had IO heavy and CPU bound work mixed on the same runtime. What was the fix? 2 separate runtimes. One for IO with many threads and one for compute with fewer pin threads. It results in 15% true output improvement from the split alone. Blocking tasks weren't starving under load. Were starving actually under load. We replaced the semaphore with a custom poll using work stealing and a proper back pressure signal. Blocking latency tail dropped for 40%. Yeah, and about timer, this one surprised us. The global timer wheel under microsecond tick was causing schedule jitter. We disabled it on the hot path, used a custom wheel for critical timeouts, and it results in P99 jitter that dropped by 8 milliseconds. Yeah, so the things that felt wrong but actually worked. Pinning tasks to fewer cores reduced cross-core cache invalidation by 60%. More threads equals more through output. That intuition was wrong for our access pattern. For payloads under 256 bytes, a plain stack copy was faster than bytes slice semantics. The arc ref count update cost more than memcopy. So zero copy is not universally better, you know. We boxed small features to reduce async stack frame size. That put heap allocations back into the hot path. So yeah, it's better to pay the frame cost than allocations per pool. And the last one, we spawned a task per request. At 45 million per second, that's actually 45 million task allocations per second. A task poll cut allocator pressure by 22%. So where we were still not unhappy, and I believe we haven't fixed it even yet. So our buffer poll is NUMA unaware. On a 2-socket server, cross-NUMA access is measurable. So yeah, we haven't fixed this yet. JMalloc with thread local arenas helped. A custom slab allocator for fixed size request types would probably help more. We haven't quantified the benefit enough to justify actually the complexity. Yeah, we are still on Apple, and our current back pressure is reactive. We drop when full. Predictive back pressure, slowing intake before we hit the wall. It is still unsolved for our topology. So to sum it up a bit, the results was 8 milliseconds P99, down from 450. So 40% less CPU at 4.5 times the traffic. 0 allocations on the hot path, 45 million requests per second. Yeah, and it's finally stable. So 4 things that you can remember from this. Profile before optimizing, flame graphs, height allocator pressure, 0 copies a discipline, not a library. Every abstraction leaks somewhere. Tokio defaults are good, that's for sure, but when your workload is not average, it might not necessarily be the case. And yeah, unsafe is fine with all the invariants documented and benchmarks attached. So the system didn't fail because we were bad engineers. The 4.5 times spike was the best thing actually that happened to this code base. It forced us to question every assumption, every abstraction, every default we taken for granted. So this is actually it. Thank you very much.